I said, this is our third week. And this week, we will focus on two subjects. We're going to do some grammar practice to help you strengthen your writing. And then we'll go over the college essay format in more detail. So this information might not seem new at first, but we are going more in depth so that you can make your essays as good as possible. And then, if we have time at the end, we will read a sample essay or two so you can see how other people write their essays and get an example of what our ideas look like in practice. As always, if you have questions at any point, you can unmute and ask, or you can write your question in the chat. So if there is anything you're not sure about, please ask. I will also ask you questions, maybe how to fix a sentence or something that you notice in a sample essay. And I want to hear from you what you think, things that you like, your answers. So when I ask questions, again, please either unmute and say your answer, or you can write them in the chat. So today we are focusing on grammar, specifically on problems with sentence structure. And first we are talking about run-on sentences. Run-on sentences are a very easy mistake to make, especially because as you think, you have lots of ideas, and maybe in your head you just keep talking and talking. But when you write them down, we need to break up our ideas to make it easier for the reader to understand what is happening. So a run-on sentence is when you have two or more independent clauses, i.e. complete sentences, and they're connected improperly. What does this mean? So an independent clause, you have a subject and a verb. I love to write papers. I is the subject, love is the verb. When we connect two or more of these phrases without the proper grammar, it is hard for the reader to understand what is happening. It makes the reading feel disjointed and uncomfortable. An example of this is, I love to write papers. I would write one every day if I had the time. Because there is not the proper grammar here, I don't know where to pause in this sentence. Should I say, I love to write papers, I would write one every day if I had the time? I love to write papers, I would write one. I'm running out of breath, it's too long, so we need a pause somewhere. And you notice there are two complete sentences in the above example. I love to write papers is sentence one. Sentence two, I would write one every day if I had the time. So there's two ideas here in this one sentence. But because this isn't connected correctly, it's confusing for the person reading. So how can we fix this sentence? And if you have answers, if you know how to fix this, feel free now to say your answer or to write the correct sentence in the chat. So take a moment and think, how can we fix this? Yeah, feel free to unmute yourself or to write your answer. And if you don't know, you can also say in the chat that you don't know. If you have an idea of what is wrong or how to fix it, please say. So there are actually several ways we can fix this sentence. The first way, if we have two ideas, we make them two sentences. So here, I love to write papers, period. I would write one every day if I had the time. So this, we put this dot, it is a full stop. Now we have two sentences, and this is correct. I love to write papers. I would write one every day if I had the time. Now, sometimes you want to put these ideas together because maybe your second sentence, your second idea, helps explain idea one. Like, I love to write papers, but how much do you love it? What's an example? If you have this connection with explaining idea one, then you can connect these sentences with this symbol. It looks like a comma with a dot above called a semicolon. I love to write papers, semicolon. I would write one every day if I had the time. This still adds a pause, but a shorter pause so that we see the ideas are connected. The third way to fix these sentences is awesome, a great way to use when the two ideas are related, right? Both of these ideas are about writing. So we combine them with into one sentence using a comma and. And someone asked, why do we have to write the comma with and? When you connect two sentences like this, two independent clauses, you always have to use a comma in English. Just saying and is not enough. I don't know why, that's just the rule. You also can't just write the comma and nothing else. We need comma and this whole phrase. I love to write papers, and I would write one every day if I had the time. So the comma gives a short pause because it's a new idea, and the word and connects the two ideas together. So we need both parts, the comma for the pause, because it's a new idea. We use and to show that these ideas are connected. So three ways: period, a semicolon, when idea two combines them, and a comma, and the word and. So that's a great question. The comma, that symbol is a comma. I just wrote it in the chat, and you use the comma for lists. So if I like books, movies, and chocolate. Or we use it here to connect two independent clauses, two separate sentences. The comma adds a short pause, but lets us know the list or the sentence is still continuing. Now this dude, what looks like the comma with a dot, is a semicolon. And we use it to connect two complete sentences. So these, again, two separate ideas, and since they're related, you can use the semicolon to connect them. That was a great question. Thank you so much for asking it. If anyone else has questions, again, feel free to do what they did and write it in the chat. So here is another example of a run-on sentence. And there's something missing from this sentence. So how can we fix this sentence? What is missing? Winter is my favorite season. I don't like the cold. How can we fix this? Exactly, we need the word and. The comma is not enough. We also use and. Winter is my favorite season, and I don't like the cold. What is another way to fix this? So one way was to add the word and. What else can we change in this sentence to make it correct? You can also add the word but. But is also another connecting word. That's correct. Though, that's another good connecting word. What else can I change if I don't want to add a word? What grammar can I change? However, no, actually, and we will talk about that, but however does not work. What grammar thing can we change? So not a word, but punctuation. What else can we change? Yeah, change the comma. Don't write the comma. You can just write the period, that dot, or a semicolon. Actually, in this case, I would not use a semicolon because these two ideas don't really go together. They're kind of opposites. So we only use the semicolon when the ideas work together and they're not opposites. So here are some ways to fix this sentence. So like you guys said earlier, said winter is my favorite season, comma, but I don't like the cold. Or we could write the period. Another option, someone said however. You can add the word however, but we still need a period. there are certain words that can connect sentences. There are other words that transition to a new idea, but always come at the start of a new sentence, and however is one of those. So again, we have the comma and the connecting word, or we use the period. So here we have words to connect two ideas in one sentence. So words that we use with commas. And, but, so, though. And these are words for if, while. All of these words listed here, or that you said earlier, these are words that we use, so we'll have the comma and then this word, comma and, comma although, comma but. Other words like however, we only use at the start of a new sentence. So if you want to say, I like winter, however, I don't like the cold, you have to put the period, the stop, and then however. So some words like that always come at the start of a new sentence are however, therefore, similarly, that's why. So those are at the start of a new sentence. So an example of that I will write in the chat as well. I hate being cold, period. That's why my house is so warm. And again, if you have questions about this grammar or about run-on sentences, put them in the chat or ask out loud. I'm happy to answer them. So here is another run-on sentence. This is a little more difficult. How many independent clauses, so how many sentences are in this one long section? How many phrases are here? Can we break this into one sentence, two sentences, three? Exactly, there are three separate clauses here. Now, earlier, we used comma and to combine two sentences into one. But now we have a problem. Almost always, you should only really have two phrases in your sentence. So we can break this into three sentences or two sentences, but we can't leave this as one sentence. So this has to be either two or three sentences. What are some problems? So here, a good way to fix this, one way to fix this is to break it into two sentences. So the first sentence is, I like science and I want to help improve people's lives. Before, we just had a comma. See, I like science, I want to help improve people's lives. Now, I added the word and, right? Because that's how we can connect two similar ideas. The third part of the sentence, I made into a new sentence. So I added a period, and that's why. Why do you think I separated the sentences this way? Why not say, I like science? I want to help improve people's lives, and I want to study medicine. So one thing is to improve long sentences, you're right. But since we have a combination of, there's one sentence with two parts and one sentence with one part. Why did I combine the first two parts and not the second two parts? Why not say, I like science, I want to help improve people's lives, and I want to study medicine? And yes, if you can turn off your microphone, that will be great. So why not say this? Why not write, like in the chat, I like science, I want to help improve people's lives, and I want to study medicine? What is the difference between these two sentences? Which do you like more? The sentence I wrote in the chat or the one on the screen? Right, so someone likes the one on the screen. Does anyone else like the screen one more or the chat one more? Yeah, you also like the screen one. Why is the screen one better? Both are grammatically correct, but you are right that the screen one works better for writing styles for essays. Any ideas on why the screen version is better? Someone said the chat one has a longer second sentence. That in itself is okay. You don't have to go from long to short. There's something about the version on the screen that is better, and it has to do with the content, how the ideas are connected. The way it rhymes, I did not really think about rhyme or rhythm. The version on the screen works better because it connects the ideas better. The third part of the sentence is, I want to study medicine. The first two parts of the sentence are both reasons why I want to study medicine. So it makes sense to put the reasons together, science, improve lives, and then start a new sentence with our result. That's why I want to study medicine. So as you look, exactly, the ideas are connected better. So as you look at your papers and think about how to fix run-on sentences, remember to think about which parts of the sentence work best together, what ideas are connected. So the other grammar topic I want to address is sentence fragments. And so this is kind of the opposite of the run-on sentence problem. This is when you have a phrase or a group of words that is not a complete sentence. It's not a full idea. And that happens either when something is missing, either you don't have a subject, there is no verb, or if it starts with a word that we only use when linking phrases. And that's things like because, if, while. These three words, because, while, if, are only used to show linking a cause and effect between two ideas. So if you just say the one part, because, then your reader is left thinking, wait, what comes next? What's the result? So those words always need two parts to a sentence. So some examples of this problem. I'll read each sentence and then think about what is missing or what word should not be here. I would write essays every day. If I have time, what's wrong with these first two sentences? Why is if I have time wrong? Yeah, it does sound off, and there's a reason. What word is there? It should be one sentence. The key word here is if. When we use if, we're saying if this, then what? So you need to have two parts to that sentence. So when you only write if, that's not enough by itself. What about the second one? This dog is my favorite. Fluffy, cute, and large. What's wrong here? What's missing? Yeah, if I add because, there's still something missing. We still need a subject and a verb. Fluffy, cute, large, those are adjectives, but we don't know in this sentence by itself what is fluffy, cute, and large. So we still need a subject and a verb. What about this assignment is really hard? Because it is hard to write about myself, we notice again, like if because, we always have to say because this other thing. Yeah, because it is hard to write about myself, we need something more. And our last sentence. I hi to my mom every morning. Is this sentence correct? Or are we missing something? What is missing from this last sentence? It is not correct. There is something missing. Yeah, we don't have a verb, and verbs are actions. I say hi to my mom every morning. So here are these sentences with corrections. I say hi to my mom every morning. This dog is my favorite. It is fluffy, cute, and large, right? We adding the missing verbs or missing words. With the first and the third sentence, we can actually combine them, right? If and because they need a second part, we have another sentence, so we can combine them. I would write essays every day if I have time. This assignment is really hard because it is hard to write about myself. So for sentence fragments, when you have words like if, because, when, while, remember that you need to have two parts to that sentence. And what can you combine it with? Or maybe you need to add that second half, the result. When you have phrases, maybe they're adjectives, fluffy, cute, and large, or sentences without a verb, remember to add that subject and verb to make it a complete idea. Right? When we have a period, a full stop, a new idea, this part, this sentence should make sense by itself. When I say fluffy, cute, and large, without other information, that's confusing, right? You would say, Kiana, but what is fluffy, cute, and large? This dog? The panda on TV? My pillow? You need to have that subject and verb. Yes, question? I see you raised your hand, so feel free to unmute and ask your question. Does anyone else have other questions as well? You can say them out loud or write them in the chat. All right. So now we are going to move on from grammar to the format and structure of your essay. And again, some of this is familiar information. Some of these ideas we talked about in our first and second meetings, but I'm talking about them now to give more detail. And so you can start really focusing on these ideas and making sure you're using this structure as you write and rewrite your college essays. And of course, the most important thing about the personal statement, your college essay, is the focus. The focus is on you, not your friends, not your family, not the radio show that you like to listen to, not the book you read, which was inspiring and taught you about the world. The most important thing in your essay is you. Everything else that you talk about in the essay should be connected to you, and you talk about it in a way that shows interesting qualities, positive personality traits that are yours. Remember, the personal statement is the chance for the college admissions person, the person who decides if you go to that school. This is their chance for them to learn about you. So make sure that everything in your essay connects to you and tells them about your personality, your values, your activities, your career goals. And your personal statement has a structure similar to your regular persuasive essay, right? Introduction, body paragraphs, conclusion. But should your personal statement have the exact same format as a regular persuasive essay with a thesis, arguments, and a conclusion repeating your goals? Are they exactly the same thing, or are they a little different? Are these the same things or different? I'm really sorry. This is a kind of a trick question. They are different. Although we have a similar basic structure with introduction, middle, conclusion, as we talked about last week, the personal statement, you are not arguing things. You are not saying, this is what you should do. The personal statement has a narrative. You are telling stories. You are showing what kind of person you are through the stories that you tell about yourself. So your personal statement, your college essay, it should not be something like, I am a good fit for this school. First, I want to study medicine and I am good at it. Secondly, I am a hard worker and a great student. No. If you want the reader to know that you are a good student, tell them a story about a time when you succeeded in school. If you want the reader to know that you care about medicine, tell them a story about how you became interested in medicine or how you are learning about it right now. As someone wrote in the chat, show, don't tell. The story, as the reader reads the story, they think, this person in this story, they are passionate, they're doing these things. But you are not just saying that, you have this story. And so your personal statement should have an overall structure that allows you to tell these stories and that all center on the topic you chose, your passion, learning from a challenge, and most importantly, on you. So whatever prompt you choose to write about, whatever the exact assignment is, remember that it always has to be about you and how this relates to you. So your introduction, your beginning paragraph, introduces the topic and you. The body paragraphs, what do you want to say about this topic? How do these stories connect to the topic and how do they connect to you? And the conclusion, what should readers learn? And really, you're answering what goals or lessons have you learned for the future? And no, someone asked, is it wrong to show vulnerability in your essay? No, that's great. It's fine to say, I was confused. I read one person for their homework last week wrote about a difficult decision they made, and they opened by saying, I was confused, I was worried. And then they continued the story and showed how eventually they solved the problem. Vulnerability, emotions, these are all great. Those are perfect ways to tell your story and make the reader really feel the same things that you did. So, focusing specifically on these different parts of your essay, we'll start with the introduction. One thing I've noticed in the homework that people have done is it's very easy to write an introduction that starts with very general ideas. It's like, life is like a deck of cards. You never know what hand you'll get. Sometimes it will be good, sometimes it won't be. Maybe you can make things better. If I say that, have you learned anything about me? Or is this just an idea about life? Yeah, there's nothing about me, there's nothing personal. Don't spend your time writing general statements like that. Someone said it sounds like something from Google. It does a bit. And it sounds like that because it's not specific, it's not personal. It's too broad, it's too general. Don't start with very general things or very vague things. Start immediately with you. If your introduction should be introducing not just your theme, but you, because remember, everything needs to come back to you. If the theme of the essay is something you're passionate about, don't start by saying, passion drives people's lives. It's important to have passion, to have meaning, because that doesn't say anything about you. Just start talking about your passion. Go straight to you. If you have an essay and it's very hard to start and you think it's easy to start with these generalities, maybe write them down, but then delete them. Don't keep that part so that your essay starts immediately with something interesting about you. Now, the middle section of your essay is your chance to tell your story. So if we're focusing on your passion in life, how did you discover this passion? What kinds of things, what activities, what books do you read? What people do you talk to pursue this passion? If the topic of the story is a challenge you faced, talk about that specific challenge, the problems, your worries. Now that's a great time to talk about your emotions, how hard this was, and then tell how you solved the problem, how you overcame the challenge. It's important to not just say statements like, I'm interested in medicine, but to tell a story about an event or events that show this interest. So maybe they say, you have a story about how you became interested in medicine. Or you have a story about the activities that you do that help you learn about medicine. Or if you say, I'm interested in dance. What started this? When did you start dancing? What activities do you do that involve dancing? Telling these stories tells us about your personality and about your life. It gives us an idea of who you are. And it's much more interesting to read. Another important thing is to try to show personal growth. Add a second story or a part 2 to show how your behavior or actions changed since learning something or since becoming interested in something. It's very easy in essays, and not just in your homework, but in many college essays that I have read, where someone says, oh, here was a challenge in my life, and they spend the entire essay talking about how hard it was, but we never hear about anything after this event. So they solved this one problem, but without any more, there's no more information. And then the reader thinks, did they learn anything? Did they change as a person because of this? Or was this just a one-time event that we just forget about? Because if it was a one-time event and it didn't change anything in your life, then why tell the story? How does that tell us about who you are as a person now? The whole point is to learn about who you are now and how you got here. So maybe there was a challenge, you had issues, a friend betrayed you, and so you tell the story of that betrayal. And that's a great start, but you need a part two. Do you still act the same way? Are you more cautious now? Do you have the same friends, or did you find different and better friends? Because this part two is great because it shows how you changed after this story and what kind of person you are now. So after the betrayal, now I am more careful about information and I seek out friends with these personality traits because I can trust them. So now the person knows about you after the story. So you can tell, when I'm saying tell your story, there can be more than one event, these different aspects of your passion or showing the development. So story one when you were first learning about something, story two, when you're practicing it, maybe a third story as you begin to expand and bring your activity to other people. Are there any questions about this middle section and about storytelling? So if you have no questions, we'll go on. But again, you can always write them in the chat or ask them out loud. So the last part of your personal statement, the conclusion, we're bringing the story, we're tying things together, and we bring it back to the present day. So your stories are from your past, and we end in the present. Who are you now? What are your goals and plans for the future? If you want to talk about things that you learned, life lessons, make sure you say how they relate to your life. A bad conclusion is after telling a story about how you had to work really hard to earn a prize in school and you were really proud, then in your conclusion you say, and so keep your eyes on the prize. Hard work is good for everyone. Is that a conclusion that tells readers about me? Or is it generic and vague? Don't give general life advice in your conclusion. It still has to connect to you. Make sure that we see what this means for you and your life. In my story of hard work, I could conclude by saying something like, I learned that I not only had to work hard, but that I could do the work I needed. And I know that will help me as I study medicine in college. So now that conclusion connects the life lesson with your life and your plans. So again, everything we're talking about, it all has to connect to you. Make it specific, not just general life facts or life advice. And that connects to my last point, which is staying focused. Everything is connecting to you and to your topic. An important part of this is, although you are telling stories from your life, you can't tell your entire life story. The essay is just not long enough. It would be great to tell everything about yourself, all of your hopes and dreams, your failures and successes, but the essay is only 650 words. That is not enough room to talk about everything. And I know it's hard. So this is why you have to stay focused. If you have a specific topic, maybe your passion or that challenge, make sure everything in your essay connects to that challenge or connects to that passion and also connects to you. Don't bring in outside stories that aren't really related, even if they're a good story. So if you are writing about your love of music and you also like math, don't start right. If your essay is about music, don't suddenly start talking about math if there is no connection. Otherwise, the person reading it will say, wait, is this an essay about how you love music or about how you love math? I'm confused. Where did this new topic come from? If there is a connection, maybe a life skill that you learned from playing music helps you in your math class, or music helps you stay relaxed so then you do better in school, then say that connection. But if there is no connection, then even if it's a good story, don't use it in your essay. And again, if you're writing, as you bring in stories, make sure they connect back to you and the topic. If you're writing about a friend who you learned from, you need to show us what you learned from them or how your actions and behavior have changed since then. Don't just say, if you're saying, oh, I am really interested in math and I joined a math club and that's your whole story. If suddenly you say, in the club was Brandon. Brandon is a really cool guy. He has a lot of passion for his life. Why is Brandon here? How does Brandon tell us about your love of math? So remember to stay focused and connect everything back to you. And as someone said in the chat, 650 words sounds like a lot, but it runs out very quickly. That's only like 1 page of writing. So stay focused. If you think something is off topic, delete it. That's okay. So that is everything from today's lecture. Do you have any questions about grammar, about essay writing? All right, someone asked, is it okay to write the names of people? Yeah, it's fine. If you are mentioning someone who you learned about, you can write their first name. Say, I met Brandon at the math club. He was really smart and I thought I wanted to be like Brandon, so I started doing these same activities. When I say that, you're still talking about Brandon, but we're also showing how it connects to you. And so the reader sees why Brandon is important for this story about math. Any other questions? All right, if there are no other questions, well, now I have homework assignment. So like always, the homework is due on Wednesday at, I said 4 p.m. Central African time, so that's Kigali time, 4 p.m. If you can get them done by end of Wednesday and send it to this email, kcneedle@gmail.com. And there are 2 things for the homework. So some of you wrote essays last week and the week before, and I gave them back to you with comments, ways, suggestions to improve. If you have one of those essays with comments from me, your homework is to rewrite the essay. So look again at the comments and the suggestions and questions that I asked and think, how can I fix this? Reread your essay and think, does this connect back to my topic? Is this focused enough? Is my introduction too general? So everything that we talked about today, look at your essay and try to apply that. How can you improve your essay? If you did not write essays before, this is your first time, then I want you to write a new essay answering this question, talking about an accomplishment, an event, or realization that sparked a period of personal growth and a new understanding of yourself or others. And as you write this essay, again, think about how can you connect everything to you? What stories show you in the best way? All the essays that you write should be between 300 and 650 words. And I will add the homework assignment to the chat as well. But are there any questions, either about essays or about the homework? I believe I have replied to all of the essays that I have received, but if you did not, including late essays, I have answered all of the emails that I have gotten. I sent out this week's essays earlier today. If there is an essay that you did not receive a reply for, don't worry about it. I'm sorry if I missed it. And reread this essay and see if you can improve it yourself. Any other questions? Yes, someone asked, do you have to spend a lot of time talking about yourself in your personal statement? Your personal statement is meant to be all about you. Now, that doesn't mean you spend the whole time saying, I am a great person. I'm an excellent student. I write so well, and I'm good at math. That's awkward. But your personal statement should be stories about you. So one time in high school, I decided to join the math club, and then the story continues talking about what you did. So your essay is all about you. If you're writing an essay where the prompt is, tell us about someone that inspired you or you learned from, then you do talk about that person, say this person is smart, interested, successful, but then you bring it back to you. And this is what I learned from that person. Someone asked about the different email address. I check both emails and both emails work, and I check both emails every day. So send it again. Either email works. I'm not sure what happened. What we will do is just send it again rewrite it and then send it again to either email address. Or send a follow-up email to if we can see what the problem is. So send another email to that address, and if I don't receive it, then we can figure it out. Or actually email it to both. And someone else asked, what can we do to make the personal statement unique? Because people may have the same stories. It's true that people will have similar stories, but no two people's stories is exactly the same. And what will help with that is as you write your essay, make sure you do that storytelling. So you show your emotions, your inner thoughts as you try to make a decision. And that way it really becomes personal. And someone else asked, he said, if their essay was good only about academics and you should show qualities outside of class, you don't necessarily have to choose a topic that isn't about school if school is really important to you. What you should do, though, is as you think of stories to tell about this topic, think about what kind of personal qualities do they show? Does your story only tell the reader that you are a good student and get good grades? Because if that's the only thing in your story, then yes, that's too academic because the school will receive your grades. So they already know you are a good student. Think about what other personality traits can be shown by talking about school. Are you responsible? Are you hardworking? Are you helpful? Do you help other students with their schoolwork? These are all things that connect to the same topic, but show other aspects of your personality. So you want to talk about not just the things you accomplished, but about your personal qualities. That was a great question. Are there any other questions before we end? All right, if there are no questions, someone says, when talking about certain information that changed your life, should we mention how it still helps you in life after school? Yes, that would be excellent because then that's showing how not just one part of your life changed, but how you changed as a person. It's always great to show how one small event affects things in other areas of your life. All right, yes, I will check my email right now. And while I'm figuring out the email problem, if anyone else has questions, feel free to ask them out loud or put them in the chat. And if you have no more questions, you can leave the call. This is the end of our session. So thank you very much for coming. Again, you can stay if you have questions, or you can leave.